In a video a little while ago, I talked about this. This is the Silence Corner Atoll, and when you attach it to your camera, it allows you to switch from horizontal to vertical shooting in a matter of seconds, effectively making it an alternative solution to an L bracket. To my knowledge, the Atoll was the first of its kind, but now we've got options. So in this video, we're going to talk about the similar products from Silence Corner, Smallrig, Ulanzi, and Falcam, talk about the features, the pros and cons, and ultimately figure out which one makes the most sense for you. So, secure the cup, let's get into it. Really quickly, let's take a look at the kind of base function of what these things do. So on one side, there's going to be a base plate where you're going to screw on the camera body. Then you're going to mount your lens through the big hole in the middle, and you're going to attach your tripod to the front part of the product. Then when we loosen off this knob, while the tripod stays still, we can rotate our camera body up to 90 degrees, or on some of them, you can go all the way to upside down. So this makes for switching from horizontal to vertical shooting super easy for both photographers and videographers. And for the ones that go all the way upside down, it makes it really nice for when you flip the center column on your tripod to get really low to the ground shooting. That way your camera doesn't have to be upside down. So now that we know the general idea of how these things work and what they do, let's start by talking about the original of all of them, the Silence Corner Atoll. One of the big benefits about the Atoll is that they actually make it for a bunch of different camera brands. As we'll see a bit later, the other brands are currently only really making them for Sony cameras, so this is going to be the option for you if you shoot something other than Sony. On the Silence Corner website, they do have a list of compatible cameras, so you want to make sure that you check that out before you buy. But on top of just having different models for different cameras, they've also got some extra accessories if you need to lift up the platform a little bit or extend it out, so you can really kind of make it work for almost whatever camera you might have. Another nice thing about the Atoll is that it comes in different colors. This is actually the one that they sent to me before they were through with their Kickstarter campaign, but I did also actually buy this one during the Kickstarter campaign, and it's a bit more of a space gray. I'm not 100% sure what they're calling it, but that's what it looks like to me. One thing that I like about the Atoll is that it's got the smallest profile, so it doesn't take up as much space when I put it in my bag like some of the other ones do. You can see that right on the bottom, it's kind of pretty close to flat. It only goes down just a little bit for that front plate. Both of these plates do technically fit Arca Swiss. The back plate also fits Silence Corner's proprietary system as well. The front plate unfortunately only goes into Arca Swiss tripods in one direction. So because they didn't make this square, you have to slide it in a certain way. So it really depends on what your mounting system is. And luckily you can also attach a separate tripod plate to the bottom of this front piece as well. So if you're using some kind of proprietary system, let's say put like a Peak Design capture clip or something, you can attach the plate there so that you can still get it onto your backpack. When it comes to the orientation of this one, you can go all the way from regular horizontal to vertical, and then all the way to upside down if you want to do that low to the ground shooting like I was talking about earlier. There is a nice click stop at that upside down point, but there isn't one at the vertical orientation, which some of the other ones do have. I don't know what that guy's talking about. The Silence Corner Atoll definitely has the ability to click at the 90-degree point. It just doesn't work if you turn it the wrong direction, which you can't do when there's a camera body on it anyway. You can see on the front here, there are a couple of little screws so you can actually adjust to match your camera a little bit better. I found this really nice going from my Sony FX3 to my Alpha cameras because they have a slightly different kind of body height. The same unit will work on multiple cameras. And of the bunch that we're going to talk about today, this is the only one that will fit with the new Tamron lenses that have the USB-C right near the mount of the lens. This is the Tamron 35-150, and it's got this little extra bump here because of the USB-C that they've added. On all the other options, you can't actually get the ring close enough to the body to allow for that. The ring isn't necessarily big enough for that bump to fit inside, but you can just get the ring so close to the body that it doesn't get in the way. That being said, because you can get this ring so close to the body, it makes it kind of annoying to have to try and sneak your finger underneath the ring to get to the lens release. And finally, for the Silence Corner Atoll, it's $109 US, making it the most expensive of the bunch, which is definitely going to be a factor for a lot of people when you see how similar a lot of these products are. All right, let's move on to the Smallrig version. Now there's one big difference that you'll notice right away about this one compared to the other ones, and that's that we've got an entire base plate that goes across the whole camera. And this can be a pro or a con depending on how you're looking at it. It is definitely bigger, so it takes up more space and it weighs a little bit more, but it does add a bit of stability to the whole mounting system, as well as a better grip around where the battery is. It kind of makes the camera taller a little bit, so you've got a little bit more to hold on to. Another potential downside to this is that then they have to make them for specific cameras so that the bottom fits properly, as well as the battery compartment. They do have this little gate here for the battery compartment, so hopefully that'll mean that it can fit on more models, but for the most part, this is going to fit on any of your kind of newer Sony A7 models. So your A7R5, your A7S3, A7 IV, A1, they all kind of have the same body, so this will fit any of those. And knowing Smallrig, if this is popular, they'll probably make a lot of other versions for other cameras as well. As far as I'm aware, this only comes in black, which is just fine by me, but if you wanted a space gray one or a silver one or something like that, you're out of luck. And as far as the actual movement of it goes, we loosen this off and we have to loosen it quite a ways, and it's a lot more resistance when it comes to the move. So it's a little bit harder to move it, which means that you're less likely to bump it out of place, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. One of the big differences with this one though is that it only goes up to that 90-degree spot. It doesn't go all the way upside down, and there's a very hard stop right there, almost like a variable neutral density filter that has a hard stop on it. So it's not so much that kind of clicking feeling that we had on the Atoll as it is like not going anywhere past the horizontal or the vertical points. On the back of the ring, we've got these two little points with a little bit of rubber on them that push against the body and keep a little bit of space between this ring and the body of your camera, which is nice for lining things up, but it is the reason that the Tamron lenses with that extra USB or any kind of thicker lenses aren't going to fit on this one. The Smallrig version has the biggest gap between the base plate and the mounting plate, which makes it a little bit annoying for putting in and out of your camera bag. It just takes up a little bit extra room that you have to kind of account for. But it's also got lots of extra mounting points on the bottom, which is kind of cool as well. And they've lined these ones up on the actual tripod plate so that you can attach a side handle to that. If you have this flipped up to the side, you can use that to hold on to if you've got the right kind of side handle for that. It also comes with a magnetized tool that's kind of always there ready for you to use, so you can attach it and detach it from the camera without having to carry an extra tool in your pocket. But probably the biggest thing that makes this one special is this button that they've added right here. So I mentioned with the Silence Corner Atoll that it's kind of annoying to have to try and sneak your finger in between the grip and the lens and this ring here to get in there for the lens release. On this one, they've added a button that pushes all the way through so that it presses the lens release for you. It's an incredibly simple idea and it works really well, and it makes a big difference in the user kind of functionality of this unit. And on top of all that, the price is only $79 US, making it a cheaper option than the Atoll. So that's the one from Smallrig. Let's move on to the Ulanzi S63. The Ulanzi S63 is the least expensive of the bunch, coming in at $60 US. But it doesn't really lose out on a whole lot of things. In fact, it's very similar to the design of the original Atoll with just a couple of little extras. While the base plate and the mounting plate look like they have a bigger gap than on the Atoll, it's actually not that big of a difference because on the Atoll, it's a little bit thicker on that base plate. So that's really what's making it look like a bigger gap here. So it's still pretty low profile when you put it in and out of your bag. Similar to the Smallrig, we've also got little spacers that hold this a little bit away from the camera. Unfortunately, again, that makes it so that we're not going to be able to fit thicker lenses or those Tamron lenses with the USB. And they've got little rubber feet type things on here so that it doesn't scratch up your camera too, which is nice. They do feel a little bit kind of slapped on, but they work really well, so that's fine by me. The tripod mounting plate on this one is Arca-Swiss compatible both directions, which I find really nice because I'm an Arca-Swiss user, so that's great. It's also got the mounting points on that front piece that are similar to the Smallrig in that you can attach a side handle if you really want to. It's actually almost exactly the same layout of extra points for mounting as the Smallrig was. Similar to what we saw in the Atoll, we do have adjustment points here on the front, so you can move that base plate up or down depending on what you need for your camera. And for the most part, my understanding is that this will fit most Sony full frame cameras, but with that little adjustment point, I wouldn't be surprised if you could fit it on more than just that as well. There is a list on the Ulanzi website, but I'm not sure how complete it is. As far as color options, we've got black with a big red knob on it. One of my favorite things about this one is that at that vertical point, at the 90-degree point, there's a nice click, so it stops in there and it won't move. And then it does also go all the way upside down. And there's another click at that point as well. Unfortunately, there's no button press to help us with the lens release like there is on the Smallrig, but they do have a small cutout here, and having the spacers to keep this a little bit away from the camera body makes that a little bit easier anyway. So that's the Ulanzi S63, but we've got another one from Ulanzi as well. This is the Ulanzi and Falcam F22, F38, and F50 horizontal to vertical mounting kit. Did I get that right? Vertical mount plate kit. I was very close. Anyway, this is another option from Ulanzi, but they've teamed up with another company called Falcam that does quick release systems and kind of mounting systems. So you've got a bunch of extras that went into this one. You'll notice that the bottom looks a little bit different on both the mounting plate as well as the tripod plate. These are both Arca-Swiss compatible, but they're also compatible with the F38, F22, and F50 system, as well as this one is compatible with DJI RS2 and RS3 gimbals. So we've got lots of different mounting options if you're into that system. On top of that, they've also got an extra mounting point for the F22 system on the side. So if you've got something like this side handle here, you can attach that, or if you wanted a top handle, you could spin it 90 degrees and attach this one. Or if you wanted to attach like a microphone or a monitor or something like that, you could use one of their friction arms. They've got a whole system full of these kinds of attachments that you can get into if you want. It's very similar to a NATO rail, but it is not the same thing, so you have to get their accessories. And if you don't like having this on the side, there are screws on there so you can just take it right off. Anyway, that is kind of the big selling point of this one, is if you're already into the Falcam quick release systems, this one will allow you to kind of expand upon that. This one has a different type of knob to loosen off the whole system if you want to. I find it kind of annoying. I wish it was just like the other ones, but you can pull it out and move it if it does kind of get in the wrong position, but I just find it annoying. When we loosen this off, it does go to the 90-degree point and it does click. However, it doesn't go into that upside down position, but one thing that it does do, if we put it a little bit further than the 90-degree, and then there's this button down on the front, right here, we pull that down, and then we can actually pull off the whole front piece so that you're just left with the mounting base and a small ring around your lens. So if you don't want to have this on, you can just pull it off nice and easy without having to unmount your whole base plate. One of my biggest complaints about this one is that the hardware that you use to screw the base plate into the camera, it doesn't actually stay in here like it does on all the other units. If I just let it go, I lost a piece. This is what I'm talking about. So it's just a little 1/4-20 thread, and you're supposed to put these couple of different washers on it. It doesn't stay in place like it does on the other units. And this one comes in at pretty much the same price as the Smallrig, so we're at like $79 US. So overall, while these kind of all do similar things, we do have pros and cons for each. If you're looking for the least expensive option, the Ulanzi S63 is the way to go. If you're looking for the most compatibility, you're gonna wanna go with the Atoll. If you like the idea of a full base plate, that's the Smallrig. And if you wanna connect with the Falcam quick release systems, you're gonna need to go with the Ulanzi Falcam one. My personal favorite right now is the Ulanzi S63, which is nice because it's also the least expensive, but it just has the most features that I think are important, like being able to go upside down, and it's got a reasonably low profile similar to the Atoll. But as always, I want to hear from you, so let me know which one of these four you would choose for your camera. I'll leave links down in the description as well if you want to check them out further, and make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button. If you got something out of this video, make sure you check this one out next. I think you'll really like it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.